Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. This is the CTA webinar, Getting Ready for the Exam. For those of you who have been here before, hello and welcome back. And for those that are new to this, I'm going to do a few intros if that's okay. Firstly, my name is Ali. I am one of the owners at ProTax and I've been in the business now for 19 years, and we place tax professionals into tax practice. I'm here today with my colleague Jen. Jen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, please. So, hi guys, I'm Jen Nelson. So I help lead the national team at ProTax, and I focus on helping tax professionals find their next role, ideally sort of post-qualified, and that's all throughout the UK. And I've been in tax recruitment for just over 15 years now. So 13 years, I think it's just over 13 years it's been with Pro.
Gosh, you're so seasoned, Jen. You're so seasoned. We forget how many years. And we are here today. We are joined by the amazing Nitin Ribeiro. Nit, if I can hand over to you to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thanks, Ali. Hi, guys. I'm a senior tutor, tax tutor with BPP. I've been there for over 26 years and just like to see students smash this exam.
And that's what we're here to do today. We are here to help you get ready for your exam. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to be talking about the actual exam itself, attempting questions to time, what we should be doing now, what we shouldn't be doing now. For those of you that came on the webinar 4 weeks ago, we were talking to people about what they should be doing in the last 4 weeks. Nick, can you give us a bit of a recap on what you think people should have been doing since we last spoke 4 weeks ago? What should people have been doing? Where do you expect people?
Yeah, so it's the same advice, Ali, that I give to my own students. The biggest problem you've got with students is they're very set in their ways sometimes, and they think they know what's best. And I think with this exam, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. It's very easy to think I must be doing X, Y, Z. There are more efficient ways of passing this exam, and what we did on the last 4 weeks ago, we kind of told students to stop using the study manuals in detail. They need to start reading questions, reviewing questions, because we had so many questions from students saying, I haven't finished the manuals yet, I haven't done this, what should I be doing? And what at BPP, what we like students to do is start looking at real exam standard questions. It takes you to another level. It helps you deal with your anxiety. You're able to then spot issues. I want students to be able to learn to diagnose problems in a question rather than memorize past paper questions. Okay, and this really helps kind of reduce the anxiety and the stress in the next few weeks. There was a game plan here that we had in play, and I think most people bought into that. So that's where we kind of were 4 weeks ago.
Excellent. So, well, hopefully those that have been on there for the last 4 weeks and those that were on the first webinar are where they're at, and hopefully they're feeling comfortable with where they're at now. What we want to do today is we want to talk about, to start with, some exam software. And over to Jen, actually, we're going to run our first poll to begin with, to open the session and just read the room a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys know the drill probably by now. We want to try and give you guys the opportunity to get as much as you can out of it. So it's a completely open forum. So we're going to run these polls, and the first one is, how comfortable do you feel using the exam software? So very comfortable, somewhat, or not confident at all. So try and answer as honestly as you can. Once you've selected your option, just hit submit.
Right, okay, so varying results. We've got sort of over half people saying somewhat comfortable. We've got 10% of people saying they're not very confident at all, and then we've got about 35% saying they feel very comfortable. So I'm assuming that those 35% will have completed some exams already, so they'll be quite proficient in it. But those somewhat, we're talking to half of you are somewhat comfortable. If you're somewhat comfortable going into an exam with software, let's see how we can elevate that. Nick, let's start with the exam environment itself. We know the software can throw people off.
Yeah.
What should students be doing now to get comfortable with the exam software, and what are mistakes that you see on exam day? So let's go first. What can people be doing now to get comfortable with the software?
I think for me personally, I would want a student maybe on a weekend to maybe when they're practicing questions to time, just a few, don't burn out. It's good to practice a few questions at a time, is to actually use the exam software. Okay, it has its own weird quirks and nuances. Okay, and you can only really, no matter I could tell you what those are, it's not going to help you. Yeah, you need to know how they affect you, what you're going to do, and so I think students do need to get comfortable. It baffles me when I get students post results saying I failed, I didn't use the exam software. What are you doing? It's a bit like going into a driving test and not having driven a car. That's literally how basic a fundamental mistake it is. So yeah, just a little bit of time, and once you've done a few of these kind of practice sessions at home, you'll be absolutely comfortable, and it won't throw you, definitely.
Excellent. Okay. What are the common mistakes you see on exam day when it comes to software?
Okay, so there are some things that aren't the student's fault. Okay, so there have been issues where it's crashed. There have been delays. Okay, I've had some really good students have problems, and if that happens, you do need to keep a log of what's happened, the timings. You do need to also take down the person's name, the invigilator's name that you've spoken to, because for one of my students, there was a delay setting up. They got given extra time, but no matter what happens, they will give you extra time if your machine has crashed. I think a lot, and I get it. You're ready, you're in the zone. Things can go wrong. It's a very small proportion, by the way. It doesn't have. It's not a big it can happen as minor glitches. They will give you extra time. Take all of that down, and then let the CIOT know immediately post results. Okay, this is what's happened. Okay, they are very good at listening to issues, but just stay calm. Just really stay calm.
I think
Yeah,
that's really interesting, actually, and bringing it up in a forum like this, because it could happen.
it could
At least
happen.
if it does happen to you on the day, all is not lost.
No.
Stay calm, because they will give you extra time, and things can be worked out, right? So
Yeah,
imagine
yeah,
if you don't
absolutely.
know
Yeah.
that and then it starts crashing on the day and you're
Oh,
like, oh my
absolutely.
gosh.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I'm open, I'm being open and transparent here. This, it can go wrong.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
great. Talking about attempting questions to time, there's a
Yeah.
big area that we have lots of questions on normally.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a gap between knowing the content and performing under time pressure. How important is it that students are now doing questions strictly to time?
So I think if students have followed a plan, okay, where they've read and reviewed questions, I think the first problem you got, Ali, right, is on my revision courses, I do not set any questions to time on my revision courses.
Yeah,
Okay, because I don't expect a student to be technically ready. Okay, all right. For me, and different tutors have different thoughts on this, and I'll respect that. I would rather get through as many questions as possible. I would rather get through as many questions as possible. Showing the kind of questions I set my students, they're designed to intimidate. They're designed to really kind of make them cry. Okay, and what happens is, and I do a poll, and I'll say, very good if you could get a 3 out of 20, brilliant if you could get 6, amazing if you could get more than 6. And what's interesting, Ali, is when I've debriefed the answer, when we've gone through it, all of them have said actually the answer was really easy, but the
right.
question was going to break you. And so it's a mind game. And this is where students aren't failing on technical, Ali. They're failing on giving up. Does that make sense? They're not able to kind of penetrate the question and say, okay, it's this issue, it's this issue, it's that issue, because we're literally going line by line. So
Yeah.
it's all that initial skills I need a student to be sharp on, then you're going to be fine. and you do have to hit those hard. Many people just throw in the towel, "Oh, I've just given up, I don't get it," and there are so many easy marks available, and also to know when to move on, because there'll be certain bits in the question that were horrible. And I said to my class, how many of you ignored that? And the majority will say, yeah, Nick, didn't get it. I know I'm not going to fail. I got those other bits. Fantastic.
And actually, what you asked people to do, just from memory, you're talking then about the questions and the marks. What we asked people to do in the last webinar was to get the marking guides, not the solutions.
That's right.
Right.
That's yeah.
So that hopefully that everybody here who was on the previous webinar, not looking at the solutions, but actually looking at the marking guides and seeing where you can get points, will really help you in your revision, won't it?
100%. And again, the number of phone calls that I still take from students when I've got time, it's getting less and less now because I'm getting really busy. It's this whole I've told my class, are you going to pass this exam by blitzing the question bank? And they all said no.
Yeah.
You know my obsession on this point. Okay, I need students just to know their tax. And you get the odd muppet the other day who contacted me and said, literally, I'm surprised I had the guts to do it. What do you think's coming up? I just put the phone down. I literally just put the phone down. I thought, I haven't got time to waste with these kind of people. Okay, because that's not how you pass CTA. Know your tax, go in there, learn all the skills that you need. And a lot of students have this academic immaturity, Ali. Yes, you'll pass AT, but you're going to fail APS.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's the long game. Yeah. I've been speaking to a lot of tax partners lately where I'm telling them, let's concentrate on AT. Let's get a decent 60, 70% on AT. Then you're APS credible. The number of APS students who are failing with 51% knowledge on AT doesn't work. They're trying to find shortcuts.
And I suppose even more than that, like even after the exam, even if you scrape through APS and you scrape through AT, what about when you go into the big bad world and you've sat in front of a client and they ask you a question, right?
It's a lot of these people don't get it. Partners are being very savvy now with the skills required from a tax practitioner. There's so much more, and those of you that are on this call right now, your managers, your senior managers, how they step up. Okay, you've got to have that mature mindset here. Know your tax, understand the problems, you will pass.
Yeah.
So there's a very easy way to pass in this exam, but my biggest challenge is people's mindset and attitude. Okay, that's my biggest problem. I'm being honest.
No, I get it. But I suppose because obviously I deal with a lot of people post-exam as well.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to learn it before the exam, you're absolutely not going to learn it after the exam unless you're dealing with a practical scenario, which obviously you don't want to be charging people for learning. So this is your time to learn and understand and get the technical depth, because you're not going to do it in 5 years' time.
No.
Okay.
So yeah.
We've mentioned watch outs loads on here. On these webinars. Can you explain what they are if people haven't been on these before, and what they should be doing with them now?
Yeah, so again, I absolutely love it when my students get something wrong. Yeah, I get very cross, and my students, I've got a few here who know this. I get really cross with students when they misread. Does that make sense? There's no excuse for misreading. The examiner is brutal. You misread, it's game over, especially on an APS paper as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I want people to get things wrong. Okay, I want them to get things wrong. I want them to introspect. Why did I get that technically wrong? Yeah, and put that note on the watch out. Does that make sense? I was doing revision on Saturday, large corporates with my class, and some of my students didn't spot transfer pricing, but the clues were there. So again, I told them, look, you didn't do your checks. This was intercompany transaction. There was more than 50%. Yeah, link those two. You got a transfer pricing issue. Yeah, and they were grateful. But they didn't get telling off. They go, look, make a note. Don't forget. You've got to get better. And so that's what you've got to do. Okay, I slipped up here. How do I not mess up in the exam? And that lifts you. Whereas I think the problem, again, I had one student who I did tell off a few weeks ago. She said, oh, I'm really overwhelmed. And I think the problem you have that negative attitude, and we had I said, look, you've got to be positive here. There may be 60 questions, but there'll be 70% repetition. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she acknowledged that. And I go, you got to change your mindset. If you can genuinely believe in your heart, you can do this. Ali, Jen, they're going to get an extra 20%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen this 26 years of teaching. I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me that positivity. Go combat mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there'll be some students right now are, panicking a little bit. Have I got enough time? Can I still do this? Absolutely. It's about how bad do you want this?
Absolutely. Okay. On to revising tax rules. This one makes people a little bit nervous. You've
Yeah.
said don't revise tax rules at this stage. So I know we've just talked a little bit about what the focus is, but why is focusing on tax rules the wrong focus right now?
I think what it is, I'm sure there'll be a lot of tutors saying, Nick, what are you saying? What are you saying here? I go, look, anyone can learn rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do a poll right now. Give me all the conditions on EMI, EIS, okay, BADA, right? Business Asset Disposal Relief. You're all sitting, yeah, no, but you're not passing this exam. The examiner's not going to say to you, can you just list out to me every single rule and condition? It's not that exact. It's not that kind of exam. So why are you learning the rules? What I want students to do is learn how you're going to fail BADA. Tell me how a sole trader isn't going to get BADA. Tell me when you're not going to get gift relief, because those are the transactions, okay, that come up in the exam. A really common example, Ali. Okay, if you or Jen were to give your adult child, yeah, an investment property, okay, would you get gift relief? CGT gift relief. And I bet you if we did a poll, half the students will say, yeah, you get CGT gift relief. No, you don't. No, you don't. Okay, because it's not a business asset. Okay, but if that same asset were to go into a relevant property trust, then you would get gift relief under a different section number, section 260 TCGA. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so that's how it's going to come up in the exam. Yeah, and these are typical basic errors that students get wrong. Like everyone learns rollover relief, but then you'll get some muppet saying, "Oh, you get it on when you sell shares." Well, no, you don't. Okay, you don't get it on shares. Yeah, you don't get it on investment property. Yeah, because they've just tunnel visioned learned one thing. Whereas if you know the twists and turns, because that's how the examiners write the question, your question's all problem based. And what you lot are doing, you're just learning the solutions without knowing what the problems are. You're only doing half a job. Yeah. But whereas now, and a lot of students will be thinking, that's hopefully they're going to say that's actually a really good idea. Yeah. Go back and learn how you're not going to get EMI, then you go on to CSOP. Yeah. So there's that's how you want to do it.
It's that application again, isn't it? We talk about it so much with the APS paper. It's the application, and it's the CTA exam. It's called Chartered Tax Advisor. You can only become a Chartered Tax Advisor if you can advise clients. And clients, if I'm sat here and I'm being advised, I don't want a list of rules shouted at me. I want to know what the implication is.
Yeah, tax impact. Tax impact. Yeah, absolutely. I was teaching that the other day on large corporates. Yeah, and it was really. Had you seen my session? So I did this very complex terminal loss relief calc, and I asked the whole class. I said, "Are we done now? Are you all happy?" I said, "Are you sure?" And they said, "Yeah, we're sure." I said, "You plums, you've completely missed it." Okay, and they said, "What we missed?" I go, "Look, we've done a repayment, right? So would you agree would you agree that the profits have gone down?" They go, yeah. What about the corporation tax repayment? Yeah, and it was the easiest mark in the world, and they're sitting there thinking, "Oh, Nick, keep missing it, keep missing it." I said, "Look, you're meant to, but think about what the client's interested in." Yeah, and the minute students can do that, what is my client interested in? What's the tax impact? Your answer goes to another level. It goes from regurgitation to this most amazing answer, short, applied, don't need to write a book on it, attack it.
Got it. Okay, so if it's not about memorizing rules and it's all about how you apply them, how should students be revising solutions using keywords, and how does that help you pick up marks in exams?
So I would say the best, and it's for anyone that listens to this will change your exam life forever, okay? Because it changed mine. All right.
Okay.
When I was doing my CTA exams, I was failing every mock. Yeah, I've never been this straight A student, okay? Um, and my tutor sat down with me, bless him, he sat down with me and he said, look, you're going to fail the exam. I was told, I've never said this to you before. He actually sat there and said, you're going to fail this exam, right? Because my answers were rubbish. They were very theoretical. And what he did, which was the most amazing thing in the world, he just drew me a stick person. Yeah, he drew me a stick person and said, this person's doing this. And he goes, shall we just talk through the transaction? And it was a game changer, Ali. You know, the best, and I still remember it, the best example he used was, you've got dad, wants to give, it was the investment property one, wants to gift it, and I was the muppet that said gift relief, okay, and he just looked at me thinking, you're so thick, right? You know, kind of, he was a very blunt and brutal tutor, and he goes, no, Nick, okay, and I went straight for the relief, and he goes, but Nick, tell me a story. What tax is dad going to pay? CGT. Why does he pay CGT? Because it's a chargeable disposal, Mark. So what I want students to do is put keywords in, learn the transaction. Yeah. Then I got it. Oh, proceeds have to equal market value. Nick, another mark. But why? But he goes, why though? Stuart was good. But Nick, tell me why. You've only given me half the answer. What? Because they're in love? You know, he was quite sarky. And he goes, no, because they're connected. They're connect. Yeah, absolutely. Another keyword. Does that make sense? The marker is looking for key applied answers. Then he goes, Nick, do me a calculation. In those days, CGT was completely different. It was based on the income tax rule, so it was up to 40% then. So okay, so is that good or bad? He taught me to draw happy, sad faces that I use in class. Well, that's a bad thing, all right? But then we went on, and then do we get gift relief? And I said yes, and I was wrong. But tell me why we don't get gift relief? Because it's an investment asset. Yeah, but it's good for the child though. The poor parent pays the tax, and they get this market value base cost, which is really high. But then he goes, Nick, let's spin it. What if it was a business asset? He taught me how to write, and and my revision just became a million times easier because I went into that exam learning transactions, building being sold, building being bought. Yeah. Okay. I did it on Saturday. I asked the class, we're selling a building, and I was waiting for which Muppet's going to tell me stamp duty. Sorry, we sold a building. Which Muppet's going to tell me SDLT? One of my students did. No, we're selling. We're not buying. And she then apologized. Don't say sorry. You made a mistake. Great. Learn from it. Do you get my point? And the minute you start learning transactions, you then learn the twists and turns. Those doing individuals advanced technical, Ali, there are so many little nuances where you can fail EIS, but then you can equally get it, right? And you just got to know those little twists and turns. Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, like in EIS, for instance, siblings aren't connected. All right. So whereas in other tax rules, they are connected. Yeah. And so knowing that, they throw that in. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, transactions help you and that's why students can't connect, because they go into the exam, they just learn this whole set of rules, but the rules depend on the transaction.
So tell the story.
Tell the story.
Tell the story. And also, one thing I quite liked about what you were saying there is you can ask yourself those questions. So this has happened. Why? Because they're this. Because actually, if you ask yourself the questions in the exam, you'll give yourself the answers.
Yeah.
If you say why to yourself in that interview, in that exam,
amazing.
if you say why to yourself, you'll probably give yourself another mark just by getting the answer, right?
100%. And that's what the examiner, I mark a lot of tax papers with BPP, and I can spot a brilliant answer to a rubbish answer a mile off. You can tell that person, and just don't be that student. Go in and apply. The examiner will love you. You know, you don't need to quote case law unless they ask for it. You don't need to quote section numbers. You know, just give a really good, decent, this CTA, every question is either about the tax going up or the tax going down. That is it.
Yeah.
Students just don't seem to get that. Yeah, because there are problems. You know, it's a little thing like even high. If your company buys an asset on hire purchase, Ali, yeah, okay, there's a rule that you don't get capital allowances until you actually start using it.
Right.
Students miss that, and that comes up in 30, 40 questions in the It's the same. It's a transaction. As soon as you see hire purchase, that's the rule. That's
Right.
all that these guys have got to do. They can be ready in 2 weeks, done. But they're overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just talking about the students here, and obviously we're going into some technical detail. If you've got any questions for Nick, please keep populating them in the chat and the Q&A, because Jen will be reading out any questions to Nick as we go. So do keep your questions coming, guys, okay? Have we got any so far, Jen, that you want to read out? I think one's been answered, hasn't it?
Yeah, so thank you. One of an individual's just asked about guidance on the software and how to use it, and thank you, Hasna, who has actually put in a link. So anybody looking for help on how to use the software, just
there.
look on the Q&A, yeah, and that's there. I think somebody just popped in a note about that they're recording this session through Note Taker, but I believe we will be sending through the recordings
We will,
afterwards. So if anybody is panicking, thinking, oh, I missed that, we will be sending that through. We have just had a question through, actually. Do you get marks for quoting the number of the legislation?
No, waste of time.
Okay. Fine, move on. Well, what did you mean about looking at the guideline rather than the mark scheme, or words to that effect?
Ali, do you want to do this one?
Yeah, so it's looking at the marking guides as opposed to the solutions. So when you're looking at previous questions, rather than just looking at the answer, if you look at the marking guide, I'm assuming, will tell you where you will pick up marks. Is that right, Nit?
Absolutely. So the marking guide is very much a summary, because the solution will go on for pages and pages.
Yeah.
But the marking guide is literally a table, literally showing you where you would have got those marks. Okay, and that's what you've got to focus on. That's your main point. Okay, and within that, when you shouldn't be looking at 100%, ignore what's niche, go for the main bits, get out there.
Great.
And sorry, somebody's just put a question in about not having received the last recording. We'll sort that out. I'm sure we can send that through to you. Another question through: when attempting AT exam questions, I find that I spend too much time reading and identifying relevant information, and I struggle to structure my answers efficiently. What can I do to improve my time management?
Again, it comes back to the more questions you read. Again, it's the technique we spoke about in the last recording. I don't think you need to worry about structuring answers in AT. Okay, APS definitely. AT, you've just got to tell the story. Look at the transaction. Start with what's the look at what the problem is. What's the problem in the transaction? Okay, explain the story. Okay, talk about the tax impact. Are there any possible solutions? Sometimes there aren't. Okay, is there an election that you can claim that can reduce that tax charge? Okay, so there are lots. So you've just got, at this point, you've got to keep reading questions and building up your applied answer portfolio. That this is how I slot it in. The more that you do that, yeah, and it's short applied sentences, Jen. Yeah, very short applied sentences, no knowledge dumping.
Yeah.
Perfect. So good question, actually. I got 36 in a mock. Is that a good start?
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Brilliant. I'll take that any day. I can't say it officially at BPP because I get told off. Yeah, but basically, I believe if you're getting 30% at the moment, okay, if you're around 30% at the moment, that for me, that's perfection. I love that. Well done.
Next question: how do I improve the issue spotting for APS LCG paper?
That you need to buy. If you're on my 25, if you're on the CIOT focus session, just pay £25 for that. We did a whole 2 evenings on that. There's a whole thing, or they can email me at cta@bpp.com. We've got a whole thing on that.
There's a whole session, isn't it? Like the APS, you can do an entire session on that subject.
Yeah, totally.
Fantastic. So does tax impact also include admin as well as the financial impact?
Oh, good Lord, yes, absolutely. Yeah. You know, if you want to irritate the hell out of me, it's when a student will say, oh, the tax is due on the 31st of Jan following the tax year. Yeah, I would kick you out of the CIOT if I had the power. Okay, personally, because it's horrific. It's not applied. And the examiners hate that. They absolutely hate it when students just put in the rule. You've got to apply. You've got to know your admin. Admin gets you that extra little mark. Apply it, check the tax year dates. Yeah, then your answer goes to another level. You'll make someone like me really happy. You'll make the examiner really happy. Yeah, yeah. No, get applied admin, brilliant.
Perfect. How do you change mindset and attitude? Where to start? I get so bogged down if I get something wrong.
You know what? I get it. I totally get it. Look, changing mindset and attitude, it's I think the problem is that there's a lot of pressure surrounding CTA, because all you hear is negativity, right? CTA's hard, and I've seen, we won't repeat it here, but we've done sessions where we've seen people pass on their sixth attempt, fourth attempt. Okay, you've got to see CTA as a journey. Okay, I've spoken to some students who I know will not pass in May, potentially because of what they've got going on. Okay, but I still encourage them to have a go. I've still encouraged them to say, look, you know what, forget passing or failing, just go and know your tax. And I can tell you now that, and I've got a couple of LinkedIn recommendations on this. There was one student that was close to quitting. She went in, nothing to lose, passed. Yeah, because she didn't worry about passing and failing. She just worried about tax impacts and just giving the best version of herself. Took all the pressure off. She goes, it was the best. She actually said it was the best experience of her life because she was free. And I want you to, I would love every student here to love tax as much as I do. Yeah, I love tax. I love the problems. I like problem solving, and the minute you do that, okay, that will take you next level completely.
I think
And there's quite
also, I think also for the lady who's asked about mindset and attitude, one of the things that stood out to me from a previous webinar that Nit did is when you make a mistake, rather than being bogged down and feeling like you've done something wrong, when you make a mistake, that's a good thing. Because if
Totally.
you've made a mistake, you're highlighting an area of tax or something that you don't know. And so what you put it on your watch out and you go, right, I need to do that. And on the days where you're feeling up for it and you've got loads of time, you go to that list of things you got wrong and you learn them. If you're having a bad day or you're feeling tired or work's been a really crap day, don't do that list.
No,
Do your easy list. Do some
absolutely.
reading, right?
Yeah.
So try not to get yourself bogged down. Try and think that's an opportunity for me to learn something new. So my advice to you would be is if you're getting something wrong, this is great. Like we want you to get things wrong because if you're not getting things wrong, you're probably just revising and doing questions of all the stuff that you know. And you
Yeah.
need to get things wrong in order to shape your best, to shape your technical depth and knowledge, right, Nick?
Yeah. So those students that were getting 30, 36%, okay, my attitude is another 14%. Obviously, let's get more than that, but another 14%, and you've passed. Yeah. And what I love about the 36%ers, Ali, right? They probably made some stupid mistakes. If I sat with them, look, you missed that. They've got the easy things wrong. Does that make sense? And I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I'm one of those. I'm not one of those troops. Oh, you've got to work harder. There's no hope for you. You're in such a good commanding position. Okay, for me, I've never revised for a mock in my life. Okay, obviously I wouldn't encourage that with my students or my
Yeah.
children, but my attitude was let me see how much I know. And I used to get 24%, and I was probably the happiest person there. Compared to, I remember someone was crying when they got 49. I'd be throwing a party if I got 49. Yeah. Oh my God, wow. One more mark and I'm done here.
Yeah.
Because it's all about your technical minimum base where you are. And what you find in the last few weeks before the exam, it flies. It goes sky high if you remain positive. Because my attitude was, I want to make another 1,000 mistakes. I want to get it wrong now, and
Yeah.
you grow with each mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's been quite a few comments actually that are just backing up from what that lady's mentioned about mindset. And we've spoken to so many candidates in the last few sessions, last few exams who have been so close to giving up because it is so hard and they've got so much on their plate, and then they do it, and that's it. know, so
Yeah.
okay. Next question in, how to spot an issue for an 80 domestic indirect taxation.
You need to
I think I'm
watch
reading that.
yeah, I think they need to watch the March recording because we spent a whole hour on that. That will really help you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Next question. Do you think we should be using notes at this stage when doing question practice? If so, when do you think we should stop using the notes?
Brilliant question. I think what you've got to start doing now is try and use your memory, see how far you can retain, then use your notes. Don't put pressure on yourself. Enjoy the moment. Try and get the answer right. Yeah, if again, this is what Ali talks about, the watch outs. The watch outs isn't just about what you get wrong, also what you think you're going to forget. Does that make sense? Yeah, so there are technical watch outs and there are kind of memory watch outs. All right. And so as long as so keep building, you keep using your notes, keep using your notes until the day before the exam if you have to.
Yeah.
Okay. But just on the day, you've got to perform on what's in here. Yeah. So
Fantastic.
brilliant.
I understand that we need to know the tax, but shall I buy the legislation for the exam just in case as a retaker? If yes, would you go for Tolley's or Kroner I?
Okay, you're not going to like the answer to this. It's individual choice. Yeah, you've got to speak to your tutor. I know each AT tutor has their own opinion, okay, on whether you need legislation. Tolley's and CCH are both brilliant. They have their pros and cons. You need to do your own due diligence. Yeah, every tutor here, unless you work with Tolley's, okay, they're gonna sit on the fence. Yeah, and I have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. So this is the first time that I've taken the written exam. Can I bring a calculator?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm happy to be corrected, but I'm pretty sure for CTA, you can bring in a calculator.
Yeah.
Cool. In the exam, is it a good idea to tackle the most difficult question first?
Oh, we've got a question about this actually on our planned attack. Shall we go for
Yeah,
that, Nit?
yeah. So okay,
What?
right. I'm okay. There are two there are two types of students. There is the first type of student that will say to me, I need to build my confidence in the exam. For the sake of impartiality, I will go with it. I don't agree with that. Yeah, I'm just built differently. I'm wired differently. Okay. I think I need a student to understand this is a 3.5 hour exam. Yeah, as each hour goes by, your energy levels, your focus, your concentration is going to go down. Okay, what I would want you to do, okay, and you do what's best for you, and I've got a few students here. I'm going to do a shout out before I give the answer. Those of you that I've told you this before, if you can just put it in the chat, did it work for you or was Nick completely wrong? Please put it in the chat so it helps everyone else out. What my tutor told me, he goes, look, Nick, you go into that exam, there will be at least 2 questions to 3 that you can do. They're going to put a smile on your face. They're usually computational or a lovely admin question. Yeah, if you've learnt the admin, he goes, Nick, leave them to the end. Leave them to the end because you can smash those. So you already know in your head you've got 20% banked. You've got 30% banked. You're now fighting for the 20 minimum. Okay. So what I like to do, and I tell my students to do, is go and tackle that question that makes you cry because you've practiced those at home. You know that the answers are going to be easy. You've just got to go and find them. You've got to slow down, take a deep breath. Okay. I would tell a student to do the written questions first. Okay. Because written questions are lovely because it's about applied keywords. Do those first. Then when you're in the last half an hour of the exam and you are mentally and physically drained and all that you're doing is an income tax calculation or an adjustments calculation adding back depreciation, where you'll see everyone around you panicking, stressing because they're doing that really, really difficult question at the end and there's nothing left in the tank. Okay, that last question, you are going to be on zero. You're going to be running on fumes. I would rather you're skiing downhill than climbing uphill. That's my view.
There you go.
I think we've been on with Autumn Murphy was the one who said, actually, I quite like to settle myself into the exam, didn't she? And she
Yeah,
was
she
like, I'll do
did.
my
She
easy one
did.
first.
Yeah.
And so I'll tackle an easy one, then I'll get onto the hard ones, and then I'll do another easy one. But like you say, if you're pumped and you've got a bit of adrenaline in you, the hard
Yeah.
ones actually can work out to be, you can get through them and you're like, oh, actually, it's like a marathon, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
But ultimately, Ali, anyone watching this recording or here right now, they've got to do what's best for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately,
Absolutely.
it's your game plan, it's your strategy. You do what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Would you say flashcards are a good idea? I am retaking an exam, use them for the last sitting, but I've forgotten most of them now.
I would say at this stage, applied flashcards are better, like we've spoken about earlier, to transactions. So for most retakers, if you're in the 40s, the reason why people are failing is you've made silly mistakes, your answers lack coverage, rather than depth. You've just got to make sure you get all the points down. It's a really good use of time if they're applied.
Yeah.
Awesome. With the question practice at this stage, should we be sticking to the 2 minutes per mark? So 30 minutes for a 15-mark question, or should I do 45 minutes for a 15-mark question? Then the week before the exam, stick to the 2 minutes per mark when attempting questions.
Just stick to the normal time limit. Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah. Ultimately, everything you do now is about what you're going to do in the exam. Okay, you need to feel the pressure, the burn right now. Okay, so stick to what's set. Yeah.
Okay. And just with the last question that I think has come through from an Olawale, if you wouldn't mind just rewording that, because I'm not quite sure how it's what you're getting at.
Cool.
Keep the questions coming in, guys.
On the day itself, technique becomes everything, and people all obviously have different thoughts. When people get stuck, and people draw a blank, what do you suggest they do in the exam situation if they're like drawing a blank?
Yeah, brilliant question, Ali. I so I give my students a survival guide. Okay. So what I say to my students, right, is okay, if your mind has gone completely blank, okay, first look at who you're dealing with. Is it an individual? Okay. Is it a company? Is it a sole trader? Okay. And also it depends on the paper. If your individual's advanced technical, there'll be bits with long-term residency. So you've got to look at who are you actually dealing with? Sole trader? Is it new? Is it ceasing? Yeah, company, trading, investment. So that's something I think students often get blindsided by, the structure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then look at what are they doing? What is that person? What's actually going on? Is something coming in? Is money coming in? Or are they paying out? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's as easy as that. Then once you know if it's coming in or going out, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper. If it's money coming in, it can only ever be three things: income, capital, or it's exempt. Does that make sense? You've got to now make judgments. You've got to now make judgments. Okay, because are you going to pay tax on this? What tax? Likewise, are you forking money out? Okay. Is it an income payment? Is it capital? Is it trade related? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So by doing these little building it up, yeah, you'll probably get a few. Suddenly you're in. Okay, all right, I get this, and you might not know the full answer, but give it a shot. Give it a shot. Yeah, talk it through logically. If it's a trade related expense, I would want every student to use the words wholly and exclusively. Yeah, justify it. What I would then say, imagine the HMRC inspector is the examiner.
Mm-hmm.
How would you explain this to your boss, to your tax partner, to HMRC? How would you justify this? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You'll surprise yourself what you get.
Great advice. If you're sat there in your exam going, oh my God, I don't really know where to start with this, or I'm stuck. Great advice.
Yeah, and are there any, then suddenly you, and if you're still blank, remember you got 50 lifelines. You got 50 lifelines. I told my students, I am not expecting you to come out with 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can get a decent 60, 70, drop a few marks, move on. Yeah. You're not going to fail. This is the thing. You are not going to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a question that's come in, can we use the memory joggers as a form of notes?
The memory joggers are a fantastic learning tool. I think for revision, if you can convert them into applied to a tax problem, then it would work. But there are a lot of memory joggers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll let you figure that one out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the final stretch. Last 4 days before the exam. What should students be focusing on, and what should they stop doing?
Yeah, this is where the cohort here will get divided. Okay. And again, my students, if I know, so I can see your names. I'm not going to shout your names. That wouldn't be fair. But you've done this, and I know it worked for you. We run a lot of retake courses at BPP for different qualifications, and I've seen through hundreds and hundreds of retakers. And my first question will always be, what did you do the 3 to 4 days before the exam? And the retakers will say to me, I did question practice. And I sit there and I think, that's why you failed. Yeah, and I go, that's why you failed. And they're completely perplexed. Some get a little bit defensive, a little bit argumentative. And I then have to justify myself. I go, look, right. And again, this advice was given to me, and it's very hard to absorb, Ali. Yeah, it's really hard to absorb. It's the best thing I've ever done. My own children have done this, and they think, Dad, this really does work. Okay. The last 4 days before the exam, you need to factor into your timetable no more question practice. Yeah, no more. And I guarantee you there'll be 20-30% here saying there's no way I'm doing that. That's fine. That's fine. You crack on. For the rest that want to listen, okay, what you need to do for the last 4 days is you need to physically rest your body. Yeah. So you shouldn't be anywhere near a keyboard where you're typing in. Yeah, because the 3.5 hours you're going to need that energy. That's the first thing. What I want students to do, Ali, is I want them to read every single question again. Not do them, not attempt them, read them. Okay, as if they're in the exam. Okay, and literally reading the question, looking line by line, and knowing in their head, can they go and spot those easy marks? Can they suddenly see, oh yeah, I've got that. I got that. I can spot an associated disposal now. If you're doing bad OMB or individuals advanced tech, if you're doing LCG, you can spot a value shift. You can spot a depreciatory transaction. You know, all the things they couldn't see 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what that will do in the last 4 days is they're training the brain to spot issues. Does that make sense? They're training the brain to spot issues. And also what we're doing in the last 4 days is if you're looking at that transaction thinking, I haven't got a Scooby, perfect, absolute perfection. Why? Go and have a quick look at the marking guide. It will give you a memory jog, fix it. Okay, if I spot that transaction, I've got it. Does that make sense? It is an absolute game changer. It is an absolute game changer. Okay, and it works for advanced technical. It doesn't work for APS. We wouldn't recommend it. I've just seen the question. It doesn't work for APS. APS, you've got a pre-seen. That's a different technique. Okay, but for AT papers, awareness level papers, ATT papers, this is a game changer. Yeah, and students have walked into that exam faster, sharper, quicker. Yeah, because it's about speed. Yeah, because if you're just doing question practice, it's more anxiety. I need you to be calm. Yeah, and you can finish questions in 2 days because you're reading them. Yeah, you're reading them. You just relax. You know, you go in, you revise, you get all the transactions. It's relaxation time. You know, go for walks. You know, do all. You know, just get yourself ready for that big fight.
Yeah.
On the subject of relaxation or not, we're obviously in the Easter holidays at the moment. Well, I think most of us are. We've had a comment come through from a lady called Hannah saying, for the 3 days before the exams, I'll be looking after my kids, but can study once they're asleep. How best is it to optimize 2 hours per evening for this? I think I read that correctly.
Yeah, again, and absolute hats off to you. You know, having young children doing this, and I get this a lot. Okay, and I think any mum or dad, okay, that's looking after a child or a pet, okay, I think has these amazing superpowers. Yeah, and I think as long as you stay calm and you just do the read and review, and you know it's about getting things wrong and staying sharp, just keep doing that. Yeah, but also allow time, give yourself a break as well. If you need that one evening where you just need to kind of regroup and just have, you know, just step away. But it can be done. Yes, absolutely fine.
Fab. So just going back, sorry, we're jumping all over the place a little bit with questions.
That's all right.
This may have been cleared up before, but from now to the exam, should we be doing as many questions as we can, not to memorize, but for the purpose of spotting issues in different scenarios and checking the marking guide, as opposed to the mark scheme to see what we needed to write to pick up the marks? I think that may have been answered. Correct me.
Yeah, I think the students. I think the students logged in late. I think they just need to watch this whole session. We've answered all of that. Yeah.
Fine. The revision questions for 80 at IND goes back to 2010. From which year's sitting should we be attempting the questions? There are 66 questions earlier in the earlier ones. For example, question 1 is from 2010. So how many years maximum should we go back at attempting the question?
See, I don't think I don't. I get the question and I respect the question. I don't think you need to care. I use questions going way back in my courses, okay, and I just tell students to be mindful of the Finance Act changes. Yeah, just just apply a bit of common sense. Imagine it's you're doing FA25. It's not entrepreneurs relief, it's BADAR. It's not the capital allowances rates may have changed. Just use a little bit of common sense. Can you just spot the issues and use the current tax rules? It doesn't matter what that question is. I think the big bit on individuals though that I think is massive for this year is that domicile's gone. Okay, domicile's gone. So I think any questions on domicile you need to kind of step away from and focus on the new LTR rules. So yeah, other than that, most questions should be fit for purpose.
Okay. Earlier question, during the exams, can we access online legislation for review free of charge, or do we need a subscription?
You need to pay. It's a student version. You need to pay. You can't use the office version that you have at work. Yeah, so do be careful.
Brilliant. I have a decent amount of time off and I expect to finish reading and reviewing all of the questions a week or so before the exam. What do you recommend doing in the time in between alongside going through watchouts?
To be fair, you're a lot of people are in this position who are fortunate. A lot of people are telling me, Nick, I've just taken the month off. Okay, what do I do? I would say certainly, I think what you've got to do is in the first few weeks, and we talked about the traffic light system last time, get all the horrible topics sorted. Okay, get those done, and I think I literally, if you're in this fortunate position where everything's done, again, just revision transactions. Another really good thing, if you're shattered of an evening, okay, read the candidate scripts for your paper. Yeah, but do be fair, they're not always technically correct, but what the candidate scripts show you is how little you need to write to hit the mark. Does that make, which is brilliant. They leave a gap between, so the candidate scripts are brilliant. It's a game changer as well. Nice little bit of a refresher, and just go in and just know your tax. Yeah, you've got more downtime. Do it.
A sort of closing statement, really. If someone's feeling underprepared today, what would your advice be going into the next few weeks?
I'm going to tell you straight away, right? I get asked this question a lot. Nick, I've left it too late. I've only just finished reviewing the notes, and they seriously tell me, can I still pass? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Right. I've seen people do it. I've seen people get this sorted in 2 weeks. Okay, seriously, I don't know how they do it. And then they're not the people that I know, they're like me, they're just normal, they're not super clever, they're not like Autumn, okay, who just has to touch something and gets an A star. Okay, I hope you're watching this, Autumn. But yeah, for most normal people like you and me, okay, 2 weeks, structured, read and review, yeah, go in there, embrace what you don't know, every mistake's brilliant, you will pass. I've seen it happen. But the problem is, Ali, they give up. They doubt themselves. Yeah, they think they can't do it. They listen to that voice in their head thinking, I'm not good enough. You are. Okay. And you know what? And if May isn't your year, go and give it the best fight of your life. Yeah, if you come out with 30-40%, you'll smash it in November. Yeah. So, so just go in there, bring the best version you can on the day and enjoy it. The more you enjoy tax and the more you enjoy getting things wrong and the more you enjoy being this amazing tax partner on the day, you'll have you'll surprise yourself.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
I've got a closing poll, if I may, just to ask you whether or not this webinar has changed how you'll use the next few weeks before your exam. So if we could get that closing poll up, I'd be really interested to know if it's changed how you're going to use the next few weeks. A little bit, yes or no, but it has cemented I'm doing the right thing. Great. Okay, look at those results. Some great tips, like nearly 100% of people are going to change how they do things over the next few weeks, Nit. So thank you so much for that.
No, not me. This time, you know what? You, yourself, Lauren, Jen, you're the people that need to be thanked here because, I know how much you care about students. You're always, every time we finish this session, I'll get an email straight away. Nick, when's the next one? Okay. When are the dates? Okay, so guys, massive shout out to these amazing ladies and Lauren, who's behind the scenes. Okay, yeah, hats off to you. You've been amazing and allowing me to do this. So thank you.
Look at how much you've changed, everybody. Everybody here has had something out of this, Nit. So really thank you. To all the students on here today, best of luck. Go and smash it.
Yeah, got it. You got it.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, guys.